Hey, my name's Monroe, and this is my CrossFit gym. I have owned this gym for coming on 12 years now. We started this gym in a garage with one of my best friends, who's like an older brother to me now. We started in his garage in South Riding and just kind of grew it small from there. We had the common idea of, we can do it better than the gym owner who we're at, right? So it's the E-Myth, if you've ever read that book. Turns out that it's a lot harder to run a CrossFit gym than you think. So I've always been super passionate about coaching and about CrossFit training. And, I think that is a key piece of being successful with running a gym. So this is a video basically showing my gym and hopefully giving you a couple lessons that I have learned through the past 12 years of running a gym. The number one thing is, I would say everything is going to be twice as expensive and take twice as long as you think. This is actually our third location. So we started in the garage. We were in the garage for about 6 months, and then we started getting noise complaints. We were like dragging sleds up and down the street at 6 a.m. Cops showed up one morning, and basically we saw that as like, man, we got to get out of here. My buddy Scott actually had, his dad had a friend who he had worked with years past, and he ended up renting us a warehouse space in Sterling, about maybe half a mile from where we are right now. So that was our first location, and that was our home for about 5 years. So we signed an initial 3-year lease, and then we re-signed for another 2 years. Then in 2020, COVID happened, right? My lease expired in May. We moved into this location, which happens to be the gym of my dreams. They told us it would take 90 days to do the build out, and I wanted bathroom showers. I think that because it was the middle of COVID and gyms were shut down, they were like, hey, we'll just promise this guy whatever he wants. He's not gonna make it through shutdown, right? And so they saw it as like, coming up on a bag. It took about a year and a half for them to finish the build out of the lobby and the bathrooms up here and the showers. And then it took them another 6 months to a year to finish the back of the warehouse, which I'll show you in a second. And I have a mezzanine office that was supposed to be also completed. It is just almost finished, which I'll show you in a second. Hopefully it's open. Depending on who or where you are renting, if you're choosing to open a gym, just read your lease. Be very aware. The lease is always written in the landlord's favor. They're almost always going to get what they want. So having a good relationship with your landlord is really important. Let me show you the rest of the gym and all of the decorations. That is all my wife, right? We love Halloween. So the neon sign, all of this is just kind of nice touch. My big thing was that I wanted a lobby with concrete floors, and I wanted bathroom showers. So these turn on. So this is our bathroom, a little water heater in there, and then the shower. So it's great to have them now. They don't get used as much as I would like, but this was, we had a big 10-year party. And there's my little YouTube plaque. Some different books that I've been gifted. Fit Aid, obviously. This is my buddy Carl Egelman, Whiteboard Daily. I'm sure you guys know him, but he's made a couple of my cues into Whiteboard Daily illustrations, which are awesome. So this was the first one that one of my members made and framed for me. This is my table of positions and patterns. I don't know how many people know about this, but this basically just explains how all movements relate to each other. And how, if you have a weakness in a specific pattern or in a specific position, you can see how that affects all of the related movements. I made a part 2 to this, which is coming soon as well. So, and then this is the gym. So effort over everything on the door. What I wanted here was, we run 16-person classes. So I wanted 8 of every piece of equipment. So 8 ski ergs, we have 8 rowers, 9 now actually. We have 8 squat racks, 8 pull-up bar stations. We have all of the bare steel spiel bars on all of the wide sections. That was a big request from my members. 8 sets of high rings. I think I only have 5 sets of low rings, but we don't use those as often. Whole bunch of wall balls, 2 pegboards that never get used, a pair of jerk blocks that very rarely gets used. If you open a gym, people will try and sell you on the idea that you need platforms and jerk blocks and all this stuff. I would just try and keep it minimal at best. You don't need this. This is mostly just kind of a rack for people to put their stuff on. And then we have our beautiful wall ball rack. I made these all out of gas pipe. Had a friend help me put all this stuff together. A bunch of sandbags, a bunch of D-balls. When we moved here, we sold a bunch of stuff. We used to have all the wooden boxes. These stackables are way nicer. We get way less cuts on people's shins and everything else. And they also stack, so it saves a ton of room. We do have one for the 30-inch. And if you need to make 30 inches with these, if you just take a 24 and then stack either the 20 or the 12s on top of it, it makes it like 31 inches. So that's how we do it. Cat food. We have cats outside, which I actually need to go feed right now. So let's do that. So my wife has a love for animals. And these are our little stray gym kitties. She started giving them food because she felt bad for them, and now it's turned into this whole thing where every week we're buying tons of cat food and feeding like 9 cats here at the gym. I think there are 8 or 9. There's one. Okay, kitties, breakfast time. The thing about being in a warehouse like this, it is awesome because I have cinder block walls, I have high ceilings, but the traffic is not as great. So you're going to pay less from a square footage perspective to be in a warehouse space, which is why a lot of CrossFit gyms are in warehouses. And this is not cheap to do and make it look like this. So when we moved in, I had all of the walls and the ceiling painted. I had a company come in and spray the ceiling, paint all this, and this is like, it's hard to paint cinder block. You have to use like a specific type of paint. And so that was something I didn't want anything to do with. I think I paid $80,000, $8,500 for just this paint job. And then we dumped a ton of money into the equipment to build out this space and have 8 of everything. So this flooring is pretty expensive. Rolled rubber is more expensive than horse stall mats. I hate horse stall mats, which is why I wanted wall-to-wall rubber with this gym. Rolled rubber just feels better. It's better to handstand walk on. It's smoother. There's no seams really. They don't shift as much, but this is very expensive to do, but it was a must-have for me. I want it to look really nice and sharp in here. Like, it being clean and a nice environment is really important to me. We wanted to not limit anything, right? So we have dumbbells all the way up to 100s, even though a lot of people don't use them. We have safety squat bar, we have yokes, we have axle bars. I took the CrossFit powerlifting cert with Shane and Laura Sweat right before we opened the gym, and I was like obsessed with powerlifting and Westside Barbell there for a minute. And so I bought 2 power racks. You know, we have a bamboo bar, which is awesome. I have like 160 pounds of chain that we never use. So like I said, with the jerk blocks, make sure that you make your purchases smartly based on like what you are actually going to be able to turn a profit from, right? So what are people going to use in your classes? My problem with, you know, if you only have one piece of equipment for someone, it's great for private training, but it's not great for group class. So I wanted this setup here at this gym to be the best possible thing for a group class experience, capped at 16. At most, you're gonna share a bench or a rack with another person, right? We got 8 benches, so same kind of theme. GHD, right? We got 3 GHDs. I've sold GHDs and gotten them given to me. This is another piece of equipment that a lot of people aren't going to use in class. People want to see, but like having 8 of them doesn't make sense. Programming them for a class doesn't make sense, at least for most classes most of the time. Let's talk about this piece of equipment, the reverse hyper. My wife injured her back, and most times this is a piece of equipment where if someone does have a back injury, this is one of the only things that can provide traction on the discs with load. I can make a full video about this. I haven't really done any content about the reverse hyper, but this is an awesome piece of equipment. Again, very specialized. No one uses it. My wife doesn't even use it anymore now that her back is healed. But this is an excellent way to get people to feel how their hips should move, how their glutes should work, how their spinal erector should fire. So there's a lot of really great things about this. And if you have a disc injury, this is like one of the only things that can fix it. But this this, and this, I think, are the trifecta of posterior chain machines, right? So glute ham developer, the reverse hyper, and then the Nordic bench. So this Nordic bench was a gift. Again, I went through a time where I got obsessed with knees over toes guy, and this is the Rogue Nordic bench. So love Nordics. I did a ton of these for a long time, got to the point where I could do like 10 to 15 back to back, and then stopped doing them, and now I suck at them again. So a bunch of kettlebells. This was actually the original dumbbell rack, kettlebell rack that we had in the garage. So this was the first rack that we had, and we started with one of these little barbell racks. Some of these bars are the original bars. You can see this one back here has seen some better days. Some of them spin pretty well still, even after being around for almost 12 years now. Same thing, these bumper plates, these Rogue high temp bumpers, these ones that have spray paint on them, these are the original ones from the garage from our first order, and they're still holding up strong, right? A lot of these bumpers we've had for over a decade. It's just crazy. The 25s break like nobody's business because 95-65 is programmed all the time and people want to do singles. So big ass fan, highly recommend. This thing is awesome. I had my wife's father and 2 brothers help install this. So they did that to save us some cost there. These are pretty expensive. I think this thing is like $5 or $6 grand now. But it is 100% worth it, especially to move air in a space like this. So another thing, Rogue makes these rower hangers. These things are awesome. So I have another one in a box because I have another rower that we need to hang. This is my office. Hopefully this will be my YouTube studio one day. And this has all been under construction. So if you've seen in the back of my videos, like scaffolding and a bunch of crap over here, this has been kind of disorganized for a while. The whiteboard, we got 3 worms. This is where we do all of our whiteboard briefing right up here in the morning. Whiteboards and markers for people are right there. Sanitary eucalyptus scented wet wipes on the back wall and right here on the front wall. Some foam rollers, bands, jump ropes, all that stuff. So this is my office. Again, this was all supposed to be done in the first 90 days. And here we are 6 years later. Ooh, I didn't even notice this. They just put this carpet on. That's nice. So this is the future studio office. This just got finished. Let me know what color I should paint it. Got to do some kind of background, but I'm excited. I haven't had a place where I can just leave my camera and my stuff set up and shoot YouTube videos consistently. So super excited about this office. And one other thing that I get comments and questions about is these ropes. So these are my favorite ropes that I've ever used. This is a cotton rope. The manila ropes, they just shed like crazy. They put like hay all over the floor. After a while, they wear out, they get thin, right? So they're not that great. They're also uncomfortable. They can really cut up your legs if you slide down them too fast. So this is cotton, so it has a nice grip to it. They do have a little stretch, especially when you first get them. So we just tie like a 45-pound plate to the bottom and just like let them hang for a little bit. But these are awesome. You can get them at Knot and Rope Supply. This is a 1.5-inch 3-strand braided cotton rope. So it's basically the same thing, and they'll you can ask them to whip the ends, and then they put like a little eyelet on them, and you can order whatever custom length you want. So these are one of my secrets. It's taken me a long time to figure out what I think the perfect rope is. The synthetic ones are a little bit slippery, and the manila ones are just way too rough. So if you're in the market for new ropes, definitely check these ones out. This is my front desk. This is the office. This is also the background for a lot of the YouTube videos that you've probably seen over the years. So that's my front desk. And then in here is our kids' room. This was a essential piece when I first signed the lease for this gym. Was I had to have this large window into this room for kids. So this is a place where parents can be working out and still be able to see their kids right here. We've also had babies sleeping in here. People will put their dogs in here. Super cool room. One thing I've learned about owning a gym in general and trying to get people to join your gym is that you can't force people to do something that they don't want to do. And as a gym owner, and as a coach, I want it so bad for people. And I've gotten burned a lot where I've almost wanted it so much for them, more than they wanted it for themselves. And, as a coach, when you put so much in on that end of the relationship and not to get a lot back, it becomes like really hard after a while. And so there's definitely been times throughout the past decade where I've been really jaded about owning a gym, about CrossFit training in general, all of it. And, just like everything in life, it has ebbs and flows. And as long as you ride those waves, I think that you can do really good things. So the other thing about owning a gym is that fitness is a really hard thing to sell because people love instant gratification. And the thing about selling a gym membership is that once I get you to come in, which is hard for people who don't go to the gym, they finally show up, they try the class, they're asked to pay the membership fee. Let's say they pay. Once they leave the gym, they don't get anything. They don't get the result. Then they have to continue to come back and do something that's pretty uncomfortable for them, especially at first if you're not in shape. They have to continue to do something that's very uncomfortable and pay for it for long enough to see a result. And even if you are training really hard in the gym, if your goal is weight loss and you're not doing your piece on the back end, or if your goal is strength training and you're not doing piece on the back end, you can only get so far with the training side before you really have to do things outside of the gym to help improve your progress. So a lot of people are walking into a gym expecting a quick fix. And it's a really hard sell when there's things like Ozempic out there where, it's painless virtually. It may be expensive, but it'll get you the result with not a lot of work. And it'll get you the result really, really quickly, right? So with a gym, I can get you the result, but you're gonna have to work your butt off. You're gonna have to be consistent outside of the gym and inside of the gym, and you're gonna have to pay me. And so that's a lot harder for people to be able to wrap their head around unless they're all in 100%. So it's been interesting owning a gym and having to navigate that with people. But I think that, overall, I now just I want to give everyone my best. And now I kind of just look at it like, hey, I'm just trying to find the people that really want to do CrossFit. I recognize that CrossFit is a challenging type of fitness. It takes a lot of dedication and it's really hard to do CrossFit casually. So this has been a tour of my gym and a little backstory about how I got here and what I do outside of creating content. I'm really just a CrossFit coach. My wife runs the gym now, and I really just kind of coach classes and make content. And I have an online community where I help people. So if you need help with your technique, we're doing a 7-day free trial. You can get all of the programs, the progressions, and direct access to me. Send me your videos and I'll help you fix your technique and show you exactly what to do to get better. Again, top link in the description. It's called Technique Team. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.